Hello and welcome back to another episode at Consciously Evolving Enterprises. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Ryan Dillon Brasington. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not one to often talk about poo, but today's story is a story about someone who consistently pooed themselves so much that it stained my brain, and I've got to share it with you guys because it come back to haunt me whilst at Luna Park with my father and my two daughters. Look, I'll start with the story. So this young fella that I was caring for at my after school care job, consistently shat his pants. This kid was a nice kid. He spoke well. He was really nice, polite. He was greatly mannered. I couldn't fault the kid. He was nice to other kids. I couldn't fault him for other than he just would shit his pants. For no reason, he would just poo his pants. Now, understandably, this kid had a lot going on from his background. I know that. But he had no recognition or acknowledgement that he'd pooed his pants. And this wasn't any old, hold your nose and go, "Oh, this was like, oh my god, someone has shit themselves." That's pooing pants, man. Like it's code red, man. You know this kid shit himself, and this was happening at my after scare job. So I think now when I think of this bloody story, I'll tell you. But at my education job, it kept on happening on such a regular basis that we first started trying to tutor this young man into acknowledging when it had happened and going and cleaning yourself up. And this child was 9 plus, well in fourth grade, going on to fifth grade, and it would now had become more of a social issue as well, and a hygiene issue around our facility and other children as well. So it needed tutoring. We couldn't exclude him, can't blacklist him, can't ask him not to return because of this issue. You have to work with it, of course. And he's a polite, nice kid. I want him to succeed in his life. I don't want this kid, going out and smelling like shit amongst his friends and not even realising it, not even knowing that he's done that to himself. So we spent months and months. We actually had a code word for whenever we smelled it on him. We'd say raspberries or pineapple was another code word. Or rhinoceros was the other one, just in case different parties were around. And he would, crocodile as well. Crocodile was the main one, beg my forgiveness. But we would say crocodile because it was a bite, man. That had bite to it. Oh my God. A crocodile, man. Anyway, I'll call the kid Brick because that's the closest name that comes to mind. Anyway, so Brick had been attending our service for a long time, and we spent at least 6 months on just trying to get him to acknowledge that it had happened. And still, it was like he was deaf to it. It was like it did not hit his nostrils. He would be rolling around on the gym mats and we're holding our nose, and all of his mates are like, "Can you smell something?" And us workers are like, "Yep, crocodiles. We can smell crocodiles, man. It's rhinoceros time. That's far. Whoa." Anyways, and we'd have to go and tell this young fella on the sly, "Look, crocodiles, man. You got to go and change." And anyways, eventually, whatever process we tried did not work. It just, it was a continuum of it was too late. It was never pre pants event. What can I say, guys? Far out. The kid's friggin' 9 years old and shitting himself. What do you say? Didn't even know it. Like, oh my God. And that's where I felt sorry for the kid because he was, a gentle soul. I understand maybe that was his power and control, but he didn't seem like the kind of power and control kid. It seemed like it was sliding out and he had no acknowledgement of it or knowledge of the smell or nothing. So months passed and it got to a point now where, it got formally recognised, and we did have to say, if he can't get formal counselling for that issue, or unfortunately wear nappies around the facility, we're going to have to ask him to sign up for another service if he refuses to do either of those. And anyways, both were refused by the parent. They refused to work and acknowledge the diet maybe that he was having. Maybe there was something in that he was allergic to. Just continue to, deflect away from the issue itself. Acknowledge that it was happening, but no empowerment to stop it from happening. So eventually, young Brick ended up leaving our service and moving on, and thankful for that too, because this was a can of Glen 20 around the facility, hunting down the smell. What has he sat on? What's he touched? Because it was somewhere, and it was generally coming from him, and everything that he did sat on or been around, out eating lunch and sitting down smelling the smell. Anyway, so hurrah, hurrah. Poor fella ended up leaving our service. Wished him all the well in his future. But like I said just the other day, guys, this is now 2 years on. The kid's 11 years, 9, 8, 9, 10. So, 10. Looked like he was still in primary school. So I'd say year 6, and he was at Luna Park with his older brother. And his older brother was dressed all up formal in his gear with his, blazer and his tie and his country country hat and his country jeans and his country boots with a blazer and his tie and his, flannelette hat on. So anyway, bro was there quite proud, and I looked in it, look, that's Bryson. And before I could even acknowledge the kid, make eye contact, it hit me nose. I went, oh, no way, you're kidding me. And it was exactly the same fucking smell, guys. I'm telling you, oh, no. Are you kidding me? No, how can that come back to haunt me? No way, here with me dad in line waiting for the Big Dipper, and we got that smell lingering right in front of us. And anyways, just in front of us, there was a mum, and there was her young daughter, must have been about 19, learning how to drive. Really cute mum and daughter couple, literally cute. Starry-eyed, big eyes, really cute. So anyways, mum was a sweetheart as well, and they actually turned away from it to get fresh air and couldn't help but to be facing us now. And the daughter's holding the cup of her hand over her mouth with the cup of her sleeve, also filtering whatever air she can. And then in front of them was a teenage redhead fella who was on his phone and just looking down the complete time. And he literally didn't pay any attention until he got to a point where he's standing right behind Brick and the brother. And the kid, you seen his head wobble, man. Water got a woof of it. And he went, and he just turned around and he walked off. All right. And then now it's just us, the mum and the daughter, and then him in front. And I'm like, oh, we better not end up on the same roller coaster as this kid with his fucking shit in his pants. I'm telling you, I'm going to refuse to get on the same fucking roller coaster ride. I'm not having it. No fucking way, right? And anyways, as I'm thinking that, the mum and the daughter turn around, they're cute. I can't show any aggression towards them about this kid that I've known for years shitting his pants to his tan. And they're like, oh my God. And I said, I know. And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, look, I recognise a kid from the education job that I used to have. With all confidentiality, this has been a long-term problem. And I know he's a sweet kid and I'd never bag him out. But you can imagine a child in that position not having any social skills or social group, because that is a consistent problem. And she went, oh, really? And I said, no, it breaks your heart. It's so potent and so disgusting that you can't be around him. And he's a sweet kid. And she was like, really? I said, no. I said, look, we worked with it. And I said, even right now, standing in a line for the Big Dipper at Luna Park with that smell emanating off you and us turning our backs to him and talking to each other, even that would have some kind of repercussion on his subconscious about how he's feeling right now in public. Surely he notices other people turning, walking away, holding their nose and dry heaving right next to him. He would see that. And still, not that acknowledgement that is, as at that age. That's what started getting a bit irritated with, and I'm like, yep. And I looked at the brother, and I held my nose, all right, and the brother looked at me, and he kind of looked away, and then when the brother looked back at me and made eye contact, I pointed straight at his little brother, and I said, that's like mouthed, I didn't word it, like I worded it with my mouth and not voiced it. I said, that's a problem. And he went, like just nodded, red as a peach, man. I'm telling you, red as a beetroot. But he went red as, and still went up those stairs, went around, scanned their wristbands, still jumped on the roller coaster. Luckily, was before us, but behind them was the sweet girl and the mum, on the roller coaster, right behind the brother and Poopy Pants. And I'm like, oh my God, no. And I was really like, I really wanted to voice my thing and just say, just wait the next round, because I'm getting photos for me and my daughters and my father being in that photo. And it'd be lovely if you guys are on the same roller coaster. I'll pay for your photo, like just to prevent them getting on the next one. But it just happened to say quick boom, they're on, and then they're back. It was literally 3 minutes later, and they're like, yeah, all right, see you later. Really lovely to run into them again. And then getting onto the ride again, I made sure Dad didn't sit on that seat. That one. But as we're literally starting to go up the stairs, and we're picking out the seats, my daughters are like, hey Dad, hey Dad, hey Dad. And anyways, they come running down, burst through the crowd, right? Dead set barging through everyone, just as the gates open, scanning the wristbands, they join the line, and we all end up in the same roller coaster, from me, then my 2 daughters, and then my dad, and then the 2 seats where Poopy Pants and the other person was. So anyways, I could not believe it that, years on, not only did it still happen, that it still had the same potency, and I happened to run into him when we're out on one of the most sacred nights, having a good time with the old man and the kids, and this kid continued to ride roller coaster with shit in his pants after knowing it's just not an accident. That happens on a regular basis, dude. Like, that is scarring. I had to share it with you guys. I'm really sorry to talk about shit on my podcast, but that smell haunted me, man. Fuck you, Brick. Go and learn how to wipe your ass or wear a nappy. And shame on the brother for not taking him away at that instant when we're all lined up and knew he had shit in his pants. God knows what happened when he went upside down on that bloody roller coaster into the people by it. I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you very much for listening. Please like, subscribe, do whatever you kids do these days.